I just watched a video from Brett Keane, Unholy Trinity, and it made me want to give you an update on the reading of The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross by John Allegros. My initial reaction to the book, or the explanation of what the book was talking about, was a little wrong, and I want to correct some of that. The Bible was written in ancient Hebrew, Aramaic, one of those. What the problem with that is that we didn't have any reference to what the words meant. In English, if you don't know what a word means, you can take the prefix and the suffix, go to the Latin, and kind of figure out what the word means by putting those two Latin terms together. Hebrew didn't have a Latin that we knew of at the time. After John Allegros was kicked off of the team that was deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls, there was a discovery of the culture of Samaria and the Sumerian tablets, cuneiform. The Sumerian language, the cuneiform, their alphabet, turned out to be the Latin to the Hebrew. So he was then able to go and take the words from the Bible and put a meaning to them from the original language that it came from. What this did was, well, essentially he found out where Christianity originated, Samaria, which was a sex mushroom cult. By a sex cult, that they didn't just have sex all the time. They believed that God was the giant phallus in the sky that rained down semen onto the earth to fertilize the plants. They equated the fertilizing of the plants with the only thing else they knew that grew things was men's semen that grew babies and women. Sort of logical. And the mushroom cult, of course, came from the potency of God's semen coming down and being concentrated in the phallus symbol that looked like a penis, of course, is the psychedelic mushrooms. And when you eat the psychedelic mushroom, you become part of God, and you can see and speak with God and have the psychedelic experience. So that was where the whole, well, my whole last video, Semen Smeared, I was not quite caught up. I hadn't finished reading it. In fact, I've still not finished reading it. It's way thick. Every time I read a paragraph, I'm almost to the end, but when I read a paragraph, I have to walk away and think about it, because there's so much information in a single paragraph. Now, what this does is it makes the Bible a giant Alice in Wonderland story. All the references to Jesus and Yahweh and Jehovah and John and all the J words are references to semen. Moses means emerging snakes. The big names, minor stuff like Moses and Jesus and Yahweh, little names like that, have a completely different meaning when you apply to the actual prefix and suffix, or the original language it came from. And his explanation was that the Bible, the stories in the Bible, were all references to the mushroom cult. So Jesus was effectively the incarnation or the embodiment of the psychedelic mushroom. The other thing I wanted to remind people or tell people that there is another book called The Holy Mushroom. And there's also a video, the Pharmacratic Inquisition. I think I have that right. But the book The Holy Mushroom is another scholar that took John Allegros' book, and like the Quran is set up, where they have the translation on one page and the original on the other. With the Holy Mushroom, he had the cross, the sacred mushroom and the cross on one page, and his research as to where John Allegros found the information. And according to the reviews I've heard, I'd say like 98% of everything he went through checked out. So John Allegros wasn't just pulling it out of his ass or making stuff up. He had evidence and historical documents that were pointing towards that. So he wasn't just making the stuff up. So if you get a chance, I highly recommend that book. That's going to be my next purchased book. But I don't understand why more atheists and agnostics and more anti-theists aren't getting on top of this thing. It completely changes the meaning of the Bible. And most of it, 98%, is based on fact from the research that John Allegros did and this other guy, I can't remember what his name is, but if you do a search on YouTube for the holy mushroom, his interview will come up, so there's lots of stuff for it. So, again, why isn't everyone reading this book and then pointing at it and going, Christians, you're full of shit.